high-tech oils, available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts, and all leading independent auto stores.
Time to determine the Australasian Supersport champion of 2014.
Wagner onto the start of the straight for the final time. He will be the 2014 Supersport champion. Congratulations to Ace Wagner and the Oz Wildcard Racing team.
City Motorsport Park is where we are for round one of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship, and today we check out all the action of the YRD Australasian Supersport Championship. Lance Robertson and Phil Harlem join me for commentary. We have some great racing once again here, one of the great tracks in Australia.
Well, we visited 3 times this year in the series, and I can't wait to see these 600s out there. If yesterday's racing is anything to go by, we're in for a cracker 3 races today.
Yeah, it'll be something a bit different this year, with the last couple of years that have been dominated by Yamahas. Yesterday we saw plenty of variety up the top of the field.
With last year's Supersport champ Aidan Wagner drafted into the Superbikes for 2015, the door is wide open for the crowning of a brand new champion. The Supersport field has expanded dramatically this year, and the battle is about to begin.
Yeah, look, it was a pretty challenging year. It was very good. Like every track we went to, I was obviously learning and trying to develop the bikes and myself at every round. So I feel it went quite well considering everything. This year I know what to expect leading into these rounds, and I'm feeling a lot more confident, so I'm looking forward to the 2015 championship.
My expectations for this year in the Formula Xtreme Championship will be definitely just being the top 3 all year, every round. So with a top 3 finish of the year, so yeah, that's a goal. But we've just got to work hard to get there, and there will be a lot of hard work. There's a lot of fast boys out there and real tight racing this year, so looking forward to it. A lot of testing needs to be done, and a lot of hard work, yeah.
Been a few years on the R6 now, so it's definitely time to get cracking and going for the wins. And we've come off to a good start of the season, happy with yesterday's position, but today hopefully go one better. It was definitely hard last year, missing pretty much half of the season, so this year's just kind of not go too hard into the first kind of start of the season. It's a long championship, so we just got to come away with a few solid points for round 1 and then put our heads down for the rest of the rounds.
Had 2014 off, so it was a bit of a bugger, staring at the trees, watching them grow, and so 2015, hoping to, do well and get many podiums. Look, it's a financially draining sport, so you have to let the piggy bank build back up. Otherwise, I would have loved to have been out here, and just need a bit more support. As much support as I can get, it's it does the world of good.
Yeah, look, there's a huge amount of effort, not only from me, from obviously my family. I've got a good amount of sponsors come on for this year, which I'm very thankful for. But look, to be given this whole opportunity to have 2 really competitive Suzukis is unreal, and the support that Mum and Dad and my whole family, everyone's given me, has been unreal.
We got absolutely no sponsors at all. Like financially, we got a Vern Graham Motorcycles in Hayfield. They've given me a bike this year to use, which is a massive help, and I've got Daryl Higgins mechanicking for me all year, and that's a big help there. But financially got nothing, and it's just all Dad, so we're just doing our best we can.
There's a few young guns and starters coming through. Braden Ellie, he's definitely picked his pace up, so yeah, it's looking to be a good battle for the championship.
Look, having Sean in the pit with me is definitely a huge help. Have his years of experience come in, and like I come back from a race and he can try and help me out and give me pointers and help me improve. So to have the right people hanging around me is definitely a big help, so I don't get stuck in any bad habits. So this year, once again, to have Sean in my pit, I see he's been a huge positive, and yeah, I look forward to having him help me out again.
Every round's going to change, everyone has a track advantage, and everyone's quicker at their own track, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's hard to say. Obviously, Callum and Michael, Braden, really quick boys. There's a lot of quick boys that are behind me this round. Brad Swallow's on fire this weekend, so you just never know. It changes every round.
The Kawasaki is an amazing bike. I wouldn't have it any other way. The way it's just so much more predictable, especially with this new Mupo suspension that I've got this year. It was 2013. I just had all standard, didn't even get the oil changed or anything. So yeah, should be an awesome year with this suspension, and Glenn Ollerton's on board.
Yeah, we're racing in the Asian Road Race Championships over in Asia, so yeah, really looking forward to that challenge. Some very, very top riders, so looking to learn a lot and hopefully improve here as well.
I'm stoked, and I'm hoping to be on the podium as many times as I can. So, I'm doing it for my family and sponsors and myself. So, it's a lot of hunger in the belly having 2014 off. So, should be stoked.
At the moment, for round one, I'm saying a top 3 result's probably my goal. What I'm working at is probably just improving step by step. I really need to work on closing that gap between riders like Callum and Mick Blair. So if I can just keep closing that gap and getting closer and closer to the front, who knows, hopefully in a few more rounds' time we can really seriously start looking at race wins. But at the moment, a top 3 result and just continue to improve is probably the main goal.
Bikes on track for their formation lap here right now. A massive 24 bikes in the field, and after the 3 qualifying races yesterday, boys, Callum Spriggs secures pole position.
Yeah, Callum's done a great job to back up 2014, and he started this year in fine style. Let's see if he can continue on his winning ways.
Interesting to also see Michael Blair actually start a season without some injury. Of course, last year he had that very nasty wrist injury, which put him out of contention really for the championship, and also 2/3 of the year. But he's back on form. He's had a great start to the season, and look out for him on the Blair build Finson Yamaha.
Let's take a look at the grids for race 1 of the YRD Supersports here this weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park, and grids determined by the fastest lap from races yesterday. Sees Callum Spriggs and Troy Gwenther off the front row, and some riders with a lot of work to do at the back.
Kyle Buckley and Brandon Demery stepping up from the 300 Kawasaki's last year onto the 600s. It'll be interesting to see how they go.
They're going to have a 2-man war in this class, just like they did last year. Look at the start. Is that Troy Gunther getting a great start on the Kawasaki, blasting off down into turn 1 for the first time. But look at this massive fields they make. Oh, Anthony Quinn got set up a little bit there on the Cooper's Pale Ale Shannon Storm machine as well, a little bit further back in the field. But no surprise to see Blair and Spriggs down into turn 1 in the lead.
Yeah, Braden doing a fantastic job up there into 3rd place. Troy Gunther, a fantastic start on his Kawasaki, as you mentioned there, Phil. He's up into 5th place as they head out of Ione. Was that Spriggs?
It was someone from the lead, so that was either Spriggs or Blair. It was Spriggs. Picked up, Lance, because there's Blair in the lead, and Paul Young charging through on the SA Motorcycles Kawasaki as well, bike number 69.
Well, as it always happens, the commentators curse on poor Callum Spriggs. Sorry about that, Cal. We'll catch up in the pits for a beer afterwards.
Usually it's me that has the commentators curse. It goes right across us here as the field wind their way down to turn 6 on lap 1. Just 7 laps around here, and coolest track conditions, only an air temperature of about 20 degrees, but the track temperature just 30 degrees right now.
Well, it's been an absolute frantic start for this first of the Supersport races. Just saw coming down there into turn 6 for the first time. Jordan Carlson on bike number 45 was all crossed up and sideways trying to make his way forward as this massive field now streams its way out onto the Dunlop Straight. Look at Paul Young sitting there in 4th place. He's made his way a long way forward. There's Kyle Buckley, his teammate, on 83. But Mitch Levy has once again got one of those lightning starts, and on the Levy Motorsport bike number 68 is up into 3rd place. He's had a great start to this year. He might be a force to be reckoned with.
Braden Elliott heading out onto the main straight in 2nd place, doing a fantastic job on that Suzuki. And of course Michael Blair on the Blair build Yamaha doing a great job as well. Elliott there trying to get up the inside of him. Now he's an interesting story, that Suzuki rider, because he's got some great support in the background from a former Supersport champion himself. And
also a 3-time Australian Superbike champion, Sean Giles, of course, no stranger to Suzuki. He was actually Troy Herfoss's teammate when he won an Australian championship on board Suzuki. In actual fact, Lance, that's the last time Suzuki actually did anything in a Supersport Class anywhere in this country. But at the Phillip Island round of the World Superbikes earlier on this year, he also had Phil Tayton, the Suzuki guru, working on the motorcycle as well. The bike has come on in leaps and bounds, and so has young Braden Elliott from Tumut in New South Wales.
And it looks a picture-perfect paint job as well. The team has done a fantastic job to be able to present themselves not only professionally but also in the eyes of the public. It's certainly attracted a lot of interest.
Yeah, also, another thing that's attracted a lot of interest is the step up from the two guys that dominated the Kawasaki Ninja 300 Cup last year, both Kyle Buckley and Brandon Demery. Kyle Buckley's come into this round still pretty injured, had a nasty hand injury which really hampered his pre-season testing, and at the moment he's just trying to get some good points in this round. And Brandon Demery is still trying to get used to the 600cc machine after spending a lot of time riding 300s over the last 3 or 4 years.
A veritable gaggle of riders there down Dunlop Straight, now into Bell Helmet's corner there as they headed out of JT Sprocket's turn number 9. You could see that a lot of them were having to sit up. There's a nasty bump that's developed on the inside of that corner.
Just recently relayed some of the surface here at Sydney Motorsport Park when they went through the redevelopment a few years ago. As we reel off lap number 2 and slipstream in the order of the day right through the field as Blair leads us through at the end of lap 2.
Well, Michael Blair, of course, he's got not only this race on his mind, he's got 2 more to come this afternoon, and then tomorrow he packs up and goes overseas for a bit of Asian Championship stuff. So he's got a lot on his plate, the young fella from the Central Coast.
I was actually watching the races yesterday on the Saturday FX program, Lance. I was actually sitting on top of pit roof with Sean Giles as he was watching Braden Elliott. He was jumping up and down and doing handstands when Braden Elliott was doing 35-second laps. By the end of the day, he was doing 34s. So the way that they've got the young guy working this weekend is a testament to how good he's going to be this year, and the way he's actually now been able to challenge is just absolutely fantastic. As we look at the start, it's a hectic place to be, the start of a 600 Supersport grid. On board now with Mitch Levy. I think it was that Brad Swallow that was getting the wheel up there, and look at Paul Young come through into turn 1.
Jay Precipio got a good start there. We saw his onboard shots, but everybody managed to get through there cleanly until we came up into this section of the circuit, and there you could see off onto the left-hand side on the exit of Ipone Corner. Just seemed to, it's a funny way for him to go down.
Is that cold tyres?
But you could also see the massive big black line that the front tyre left as, it lost contact with terra firma.
Yeah, it was a low side, thankfully, so hopefully there's not too much damage for the youngster from Queensland, and he'll be able to get himself back out there for races 2 and 3 later on today.
Nice 5-bike battle developing here at the front on lap 5. Just a 7-lap race around this 3.9 kilometre Sydney Motorsport Park circuit.
Well, the point I made earlier about the last couple of years has been a Yamaha YRD benefit at the front of the Supersport class. Yesterday we saw plenty of variety. Once again today we've got a Yamaha leading from a Suzuki, from another Yamaha, from a Kawasaki. So great to see Suzuki and Kawasaki having bikes up there represented at the front of this Supersport class. And the way that the racing is, Lance, is just so exciting. I say more variety, bring it on.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you look at the variety, there's an A grader leading a B grader in third, and the C grader of Troy Gunther from Queensland on the Fresh Chef PI Technical Kawasaki, doing a fantastic job to mix it with some more experienced riders.
And there is the most experienced rider in the field, about to be overtaken by Troy Gunther, the young Queensland that you said. Paul Young, he's won Australian championships, he's won British Superbike support class championships, a test and development rider for Triumph as well over there in the UK. He's come back to Australia, he's now the chief road tester for Australian Motorcycle News, and certainly hasn't slowed down at all.
And hasn't earned the respect of the young guys in the field yet, clearly.
Well, neither he should either. So out of Bell Helmets and on to the Swann Insurance Main Straight they come to complete lap number 5 of 7, and your race leader is still Michael Blair ahead of Braden Elliott, Mitch Levy and Jay Precipio doing a great job there, as we mentioned. Troy Gunther getting up the inside now to reel off into third place. No, he doesn't quite manage to do it, so he's just going to have to wait a little bit longer.
I'm actually glad you mentioned Jay Precipio there at the back of that lead group, Lance, because this year he's part of a much bigger team. Been a self-funded effort the last couple of years, but this year he's under the guidance of Darren Scriberis from the Race Centre team, the guys that actually took Jed Metcher to that wildcard performance at the World Superbikes earlier on this year. And look where he is, in 5th position. He could very well win this race, because these top 5, there's 1.5 laps to go of the Sydney Motorsport Park venue, and anything can and usually happens in Supersport.
He's also one of those YRD riders, as we see the scraping of the boot scraper there and some sparks come up. YRD, of course, sponsoring the Supersport category this year, and that stands for the Yamaha Rider Development Program, so there's a lot of support in the background from Yamaha.
Oh, Braden Elliott up the inside. of Michael Blair. Can he hold it on? Blair comes back on the inside through turn 8, just manages to squeeze his way through. Oh, I tell you what, Braden Elliott, if you had have told him that coming into this round he'd be fighting for the lead, he would have thought that you were looking for a jacket that zips up at the back. But this weekend he has been going so very well. Now he's not going to take anything less than a race win.
Well, there's little less than a breath between the front 5 runners as they head out down Dunlop and into Bell Helmets for the second last time. Elliott going a little bit wide there, gets the advantage of drive into that second part of the corner. But I tell you what, Michael Blair's doing a fantastic job to hold off all of the pressure behind him.
So why that happened at the backside of the circuit, now stacks up these 5 bikes for the final lap around here. This is going to be a doozy.
Well, I think the only thing there was that Braden Elliott wasn't close enough to Michael Blair to see if he could actually slipstream the very rapid Yamaha to the line. I think he would have liked to have been able to do that as they start this final lap. Now he won't know if he needs to come out of there in the lead or if he can afford to sit behind.
Well, Mitch Levy is right up onto his rear cowling there, heading down into the braking area of Ipone. He dropped off the pace a little bit, and in turn, he's getting a lot of pressure from that young Queensland C grader, Troy Gunther.
Well, only half a lap to go now, and in actual fact, is it my imagination or has Mitch Levy just caught up another couple of bike lengths onto the back of this lead too? Looked like he'd lost it a little bit in the previous lap, but Gunther and also Jay Precipio are right with him as well. Precipio could even get the double slipstream and get up onto the podium from 5th place.
Yeah, and the battle for first up into Kawasaki is still not over and done with yet either, as Braden Elliott on board that Hankook Tyres Royan Truck Repairs Suzuki GSX R600. He's trying very, very hard to get up the inside, the outside, even over the top. He'll take it any way he possibly can to get that race win. Takes a very wide entry. That opens up the opportunity there for Mitch Levy momentarily on JT Sprockets, but it seemed to be a good line for him to get drive down Dunlop.
Actually, the fastest man in this race so far is Jay Precipio, who's back there in 4th place. His third lap was a 1:34.2.
Well, Michael Blair leads them out of Bell Helmets for the last time and down the Swann Insurance main straight. It's going to be a slipstreaming battle to the checkered flag. Will he be able to hold it off? It looks like the young Central Coast rider is going to do it, though. Michael Blair will take his victory in 2015 for the first time in the YRD Supersport category.
Only a second covering the first 5 bikes. This is further back in the field for finishing positions here. The first 5 across the line. We've still got battles going right through the field.
That's Jordan Carlson on 45 trying to hold off on the way to the line there. Looks like he's just going to get it. So Carlson on 45 will take a good result as well.
Well, Michael Blair victorious ahead of Braden Elliott, Mitch Levy and Troy Gunther. Jay Precipio, Paul Young finished in 6th. Swallow, Oliver, Ben Blythe rounding up the top 9.
With the pace tonight, Carlson, Baker, Quinn, Alderson, Demery, Smith, Patrick Lee, James Parker and Kieran Marr completing the top 20. David Ruffley, Ben Green, Luke Mitchell and Callum Spriggs completing the field.
It's a very hard race, the boys are riding awesome, They were on my ass the whole time, but we went out in that race with the qualifiers on, so we had a bit less grip than we wanted, but for the next race we'll have a new set on, so hopefully be able to get a few quicker times and be able to break away and get a few more wins.
I'll just keep chipping away at it and keep trying to improve. The bike's going great so far, so look, congratulations to Mick, and I hope Cal's all right, but I'm sure it's going to be on in the next one.
Well, that's race 1 in the books for a brand new season of Supersport. After the break, we check out racing from races 2 and 3 of this year's championship. We're back at Sydney Motorsport Park for round 1 of the YRD Australasian Supersport Championship, part of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. Race number 3 is coming up soon, but boys, let's check out the highlights of race number 2.
As you can see here, a fairly indifferent start for a lot of the riders, and Jay Precipio got a good start there, but Michael Blair, he was left faltering at the first hurdle.
Yeah, he got a good jump off the line, but then I think he had a bit of a contact with Braden Elliott, and look where he is. He's way back in the field. May have even got balked a little bit by Jay Precipio there as he went out on the race centre Yamaha YZF R6, and Blair left himself with a fair amount of work to do. You can see him trying to work his way through the field, getting past Braden Elliott on the front straight.
After Callum Spriggs' indiscretion in the similar part of the circuit to where Jay Precipio came undone, he's doing a fantastic job, and he did so throughout the entire 6 laps.
Good news for Spriggs is he got to start from pole position after that incident yesterday.
But then Blair, he started to feel a bit of pressure coming on from young Gunther from Queensland, and unfortunately resulted in this incident where he lost the front end going down into Ipone.
It was a great recovery to get up to second place. Then unfortunately it all went pear-shaped for him at turn 2 with Callum Spriggs leading. It was a complete turnaround from race number 1.
Well, it was green light, the checkered flag, and that's the way that he likes to do it. So he takes his maiden victory in 2015 quite comprehensively ahead of Gunther, and in third place was Braden Elliott. Another fantastic effort on board the Suzuki.
Yeah, and great for Troy Gunther as well to come up into second place in that second race. Good points for the young Queenslander.
The bike's on track now on the formation lap for race 3 of the day. Much warmer conditions than what we saw for the earlier races. You're looking at air temperature around 27 degrees. And more importantly, gents, the track temperature now 44.5 degrees.
Well, 27 degrees. I'll tell you what, the bike of Jordan Carlson, bike number 45, is looking a lot hotter than 27 degrees at the moment.
Well, it's 14 degrees hotter on the circuit, the track temperature, than it was for race number 1. So I doubt very much whether we'll see that all-important race record get broken here this afternoon.
And these guys, of course, running to treaded Dunlop control tyres. What's the reasoning for that?
That's been a Supersport rule for a long, long time. All I can say is, though, Matt, is that they're essentially slicks with a couple of cuts in them.
Right. Looking forward to the final race here today as we check out the starting grid for the YRD Supersports. Once again, Callum Spriggs and Troy Gunther will be on pole position and the front row, respectively, with Braden Elliott and Michael Blair. So a Yamaha and Suzuki inside the top 4. Over the page down to the likes of Callum Anderson, Jeff Cranfield and Rowan Smith in position 20 in the Race with Motors & Sons Suzuki in this final race.
I think what it also tells you is how good the tyres are for the general motorcycles that you can put on your bike and ride out here to Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend to take in the action. On board with Troy Gunther. Let's see if he can get another great start back there in the field. It was that swallowed once again. He'll be getting a job as a stuntman with Lukey Luke's stunt show if he keeps going up with wheelies like that off the start.
Callum Spriggs didn't get the best of starts on the outside, but he managed to maintain momentum up there. I think he's into second place. It was Michael Blair who got a good one. Then we've got Braden Elliott up into third place, and I think you'll find that that's the C-grade of Gunther up into fourth, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, right behind him too is Mitch Levy on the Levy Motorsport machine, bike number 68. Then it's Swallow, Paul Young, the next one through as well on bike number 96.
Brad Swallow continues to impress on the flip and flow deuce speed on two wheels Motorsport Kawasaki. He's been a rider that has developed his own sort of style over the last 12 to 18 months, and I think he's going to be a pretty good force to be reckoned with this year.
Just seen Jay Precipio coming through the field after that incident in race number 2 as well. So the leaders come down to turn 6. So Blair, aboard the Blair build Yamaha, leads us around the back of Corporate Hill here. So just 6 laps now. The earlier races today were 7, so 1 less than what we had earlier today to get the job done.
Out of Kawasaki and around through Race Tech Corner into JT Sprockets, the 180 degree hairpin with that nasty little bump on the inside of it. And that's very important to miss that, guys, because if you don't, then you don't get the drive down Dunlop, which is important to maintain that momentum through bell helmets and onto the main straight.
And one thing I've been noticing too this weekend is the amount of riders that are running out extremely wide on the exit of JT Sprockets turn 9, actually over the ripple strip in a lot of instances and out onto the extra bit of pavement there as they try and get the drive up that Dunlop straight. But look at this massive conga line of bikes now coming down the Swann Insurance start-finish straight, and looks like Paul Young is right in that mix as well. But normal service has been resumed at the front with a Blair and Callum Spriggs battle starting to really develop here, and young Braden Elliott from Tumut going with them.
Spriggs momentarily just poked his nose on the inside. I thought he was going to be able to go on with it, but he wasn't able to, as Jay Precipio now gets overtaken in the back section of the circuit.
He's back in 11th position aboard the Race Centre Yamaha on lap 2. And this drop away out of turn 3 in the run over the top of the tunnel. Here's a replay of the start now aboard with Troy Gunther. Plenty of RPM as he gets swallowed up by the front row here. And drops back to 4th place.
Yeah, Michael Blair got the best of the start there. You could see him lead off quite comfortably, and Mitch Levy, he also got a good start as well.
Well, it looked like Benny Blythe was right behind him there off the start on bike number 25, but it was Precipio and couldn't quite else who see that was that got a good jump in there and managed to slot themselves right in behind.
Oh, it was Paul Young. Paul Young did a good job there on the inside of the circuit.
You mentioned Precipio before. One of the great things about Jay this year having the team behind him that he has is Mitch Levy. Put a bit of an ambitious manoeuvre on there. In actual fact, instead of gaining position, I think he may have lost 2. But Precipio had that crash. The great thing about having Mal Metcher and Darren Scriberis and everyone behind him is that they would have been able to get the bike ready and calm him down and get him ready for this third race.
Well, as they head out of Bell Helmets on lap number 3, completing lap number 3 and down the Swann Insurance main straight, it is Callum Spriggs that's leading at the moment, only marginally though, over Michael Blair. They've opened up a bit of a gap now on Braden Elliott and Troy Gunther back there. Look at that round the outside. Spriggs goes. Blair tried up the inside, Matt, but he couldn't go on with it.
Man, the door slammed shut in his face, didn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, Blair's been the fastest man on track so far with a 34.989. That was on the second lap, the first of their flying laps. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Callum Spriggs put in a better one on lap 3. And he's gone to the lead. But look at these two. The two really impressive riders from this weekend. They're punching well above what we would have thought they would have been doing coming into this round. Gunther and also the young man from Queensland, Troy Gunther. But this battle for first is absolutely scintillating with lots of overtaking happening around through the back of the circuit.
Yeah, good replay there showing just how important it was to get the drive out of JT Sprocket's turn and down that Dunlop back straight. You can see Callum Spriggs now about a bike and a half length ahead of Michael Blair in second place. Braden Elliott, he's shaken off the challenges now of Gunther in third place momentarily anyway. As I say that, Gunther comes up right onto the rear of him in JT Sprocket's turn.
Sean Giles will be doing cartwheels across the top of pit roof at the moment, Lance, as he watches his young charge out there. You know how excited he was. He was down there, essentially the first man on the scene at the end of each race to congratulate his young pupil. And the way that the young fella's going at the moment, I reckon that he'll be a permanent fixture in the garage for the rest of the season.
I don't think I've seen Sean Giles with a smile wider than I've seen him when he was racing, doing the job that he's doing now. It's almost like he's got a split watermelon on his face.
Gunther looks for a pass down the inside and gets denied through that turn 1 section, the fastest part of this Sydney Motorsport Park track. Working lap 5 of 6 on the YRD Australasian Supersport Championship season opener here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
I thought there momentarily Elliott was going to go a little bit too wide and open up the opportunity for Gunther, but he managed to maintain about mid-track and get that drive all important out of the right-hander now, up over Blacktown Chrysler Hill and down into DID Chains turn number 4.
I think what the great thing about that entry was that you made a point of then, Lance, was the fact that he was able to get it in sideways but still get right onto the apex. Such high corner entry speed, which essentially made it impossible for Gunther to get up the inside. He really is what seems to be the entire package this weekend. He's riding fantastically well. The team is well presented. The bike looks absolutely sensational, and he's riding the wheels off it.
Paul Young heading out of Kawasaki there on bike number 96. Right behind him, young Mitch Levy doing a fantastic job. Behind them is Brad Swallow and a freight train of would-be's, if they could be's, trying to get up there as close to the front of the pack.
Is that Cambridge Oliveira on bike number 9 putting in a good ride as well?
Great effort for Cambridge, doing a fantastic job. He finished off season 2014 quite comfortably and is looking forward to this year's battle.
Meantime, our leader coming around to start the final lap, away from Caboolture in Queensland, the 2012 Queensland Supersport champion, is about to set sail for the final lap as we jump aboard Troy Gunther. Currently in 4th, looking for a podium position aboard the Fresh Chef's Kawasaki.
He gets a drive down the Swann Insurance main straight, but I don't think he can go through turn number 1 ahead of Braden Elliott. Elliott just had that marginal lead. That's all he needed, just to be able to keep it, kiss the apex, drive out wide. Now he needs to cover his line again, as we mentioned last time out. He drives in deep, goes to mid-track, then holds that line and almost balks Gunther. He can't get up the inside of him or around the outside of him. He's got to go line astern.
Oh, look at this battle between Paul Young and Mitchell. Oh, Swallow! Fair income. Just see how sideways he got the bike on the way out of turn 3. He was lucky to make it through turn 3. But there's only half a lap to go now for our leaders. The real question is, has Michael Blair got any answer for the Queenslander at the moment that leads Callum Spriggs? And remember, Lance, it was only a year or so ago that Callum Spriggs and his good mate Aidan Wagner were riding around at the front of this Supersport class. This weekend, Wagner's in the Superbike class, and Callum Spriggs could be on for his second victory of the day in Supersport.
Yeah, it'd be a great effort for the young Queenslander as they head out of the left-hander, race tech down into DID Chains for the last time. Braden Elliott, he hasn't got that third place secured just yet. Troy Gunther is trying very, very hard.
The final sequence of turns coming up for Callum Spriggs. He's done a great job this weekend aboard the Yamaha. This sequence of turns, the final 2 left-handers, and I think he's got enough of a margin here. Back to Blair, then this battle for 3rd and 4th. As they come down onto the main straight to grab the checkered flag in the final race of today here, the YRD Australasian Supersport Championship. Well done to Callum Spriggs. He gets the job done in race number 3.
Yeah, mate, there was no way that Blair was close enough to utilise the slipstream there. But look at the battle between Braden Elliott and Troy Gunther. There was nothing in it as they came to the line. In fact, it was less than a tenth of a second. Oh, right at the line there. Was that Jay Precipio just getting the better of Jordan Carlson, I think it may have been.
Yeah, battle right down to the wire. So Spriggs it is ahead of Blair, Elliott, Gunther, Young, Levy, Oliver, Swallow, Blythe and Luke Mitchell rounding up the top 10.
Yeah, great result for Luke Mitchell.
Over the pace tonight, Precipio, Buckley, Baker, Carlson, Demery, Alderson, Smith, Quinn and Patrick Lee finishing back there in 20th place, and then Parker, Ruffley, Marr and Ben Green finishing in 24th.
Yeah, it was an awesome weekend. Besides that first race, just I made a little mistake and wrecked my points for the start of the year. But yeah, I managed to come back after the last 2 race wins, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Messed up on the start there with a few other riders and had to find my way from the back, and I got into second and I should have been happy. I kept trying to pull in the lead. Yeah, it was a bit of a rookie error, but yeah, we learned from that and we'll go on and improve for Mella.
Let's take a look at the points after the first round of Supersport thanks to YRD this year, and Braden Elliott leads from Troy Gunther. Mitch Levy is in 3rd position. Callum Spriggs ends up 4th for the weekend, back to Blair, Young, Swallow, Oliver in 8th position of Ben Blythe and Michael Knight rounding out the top 10. Well, that wraps up all the action of the first round, the YRD Australasian Supersport Championship. After the break, we check out all the action of the Formula Xtreme C and D grade class here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park as we continue the action of round 1 of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. Time to check out all the action from Formula Xtreme Class C and D, boys. It's a mixed bag, this category, but a good entry level.
Well, it is. In years gone by, the A, B, C and D graders all used to running the Superbikes together. This year, for the want of a better description, they've split the field. The less experienced C and D grade riders get their opportunity to ride against each other. We have 17 in the field here. We've also got 13 Superbikes in A and B grade, so the numbers have not dropped off at all. There's 30 of them here, a spectacular entry for the first round, but 17 of them are about to do battle in their own class of racing, and it should be very, very exciting.
Yeah, it is, and there's a great mix of machinery as well. We've got Kawasaki's, we've got Suzuki's, we've got BMW's, and I think there's also an Aprilia and a Ducati Panigale out there as well. So once again, great variety makes for a great spectacle.
And a guy called Glenn Birchall got pole position. He's been around for a few years now.
He has, and Michael Witchard making his way up on the cutting-edge racing team to the front row of the grid.
And it's an all Kawasaki lockout, isn't it? All first 4 positions taken by Kawasaki this season in the first round of the championship here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Glenn Birchall will start from pole position. 17 bikes to take the green. Lee Appleby and Paul Crampton will bring up the rear of the field for this first race.
Yeah, we've got Suzuki's, Ducatis, Kawasaki's, Hondas, Yamahas, you name it, they're here in the field, and we're ready for race number 1 of the 2015 series of the Formula Xtreme C and D grade.
Way from the start now aboard with Witchard there momentarily. Just a 7-lap race and plenty of wheels standing as they leave the grid here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Bit of showboating going on there too. I don't think he bothered to back off. He's enjoying himself nice and early in this one.
I tell you what, Jason Martin yesterday on board the Cube Racing Kawasaki, he was getting massive, big wheelies off the line. But look at him now as they tip down into turn 1 on bike number 61. He's up there into 2nd place. A great start from the Queenslander.
Doing a fantastic effort to get away nice and early. Up there also is the 41 of Christian Carroll on the Central Coast Performance Cycle Centre Pro Matrix Suzuki GSXR.
And as always, if he's from Central Coast Performance, he's got big Rob Hallcroft looking after him in the pits.
Yeah, Rob does a fantastic job, not only in preparing the bikes, but also presenting the bikes and preparing the riders as well.
Oh, someone off the track there as they make their way up towards the Kawasaki corner. And was that Witchard just throwing the ZX-10 on its side there? Looked like he was two-wheel drifting it into turn 6 for this first lap. But the thing that I'm really hoping is that Jason Martin on bike number 61 remembers that he's just jumped off his Ninja 300. There he goes. I put the Mockers curse on him, and he's down into turn 9 completely sideways. He's back on the ZX-10 now, not on the Ninja 300.
Well, it's rather a different line to take through the JT Sprocket's turn as Ransell goes through and places himself one closer to the front of the pack.
So just 7 laps. We look at bike 99 coming around to the main straight of Ransell Deska, being chased by the 53 as Sompot Rosner, the international rider, if you like, born in Thailand, lived in Germany for a stint, and now lives here in New South Wales.
And on possibly one of the best sounding motorcycles ever invented, an Aprilia RSV4. Plenty of horsepower out there in this race, but at the moment we've got a Kawasaki leading, BMW right up there as well.
Well, there's nothing but a country mile between first and second place. Glenn Birchall on the Fagans Bay Plumbing Kawasaki ZX-10R has done a fantastic job. He's got about a 5-second lead over the rest of the field.
Yep, certainly has made an escape at the front, but the second place at the moment is being held down by a Suzuki GSXR ridden by Brendan McIntyre, bike number 22. He's got the Aprilia and the Kawasaki right behind him as well.
Up over the Blacktown Chrysler Hill and down into turn number 4, the DID chains turn. Remarkably different lines from a couple of the riders there. One tugs the inside and then comes across onto the apex of Berwick Leathers, turn number 5, I beg your pardon. Past 1, almost past 2. A great job there.
That was exactly what he did on the last lap as well. He seemed to be able to get very late there into turn 6, but still get the bike turned and online. Looked like he was two-wheel drifting it through there on that occasion as well. As there goes bike number 41, that's Christian Carroll on that Central Coast Performance Motorcycle Centre machine.
From a long way back, didn't he?
Certainly got the momentum coming through there out of Kawasaki and up towards Racetech. Out of JT Sprockets and down Dunlop goes our battle for second and third place at the moment, and that's being held down by Brendan McIntyre on that beautiful looking Suzuki.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Witchard on 85 trying to find his way past down the long start finish straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park as he blasts his way out there past the Swann Insurance signs. He'll try and get into the slipstream of the Suzuki, and look at the long legs of the Kawasaki as it makes its way down into turn 1.
Oh, denied.
Oh, but McIntyre comes back.
He blinked first, and Witchard will have to hold the third as he tries the outside now on the run-up to Opone Oil's turn.
Oh, there's not much black stuff left there. Wow.
It's 3 wide.
Rancel Deska from the ACT doing a fantastic job there as well.
But I think Witchard was the big loser in that one, wasn't he? He was challenging for second place, and all of a sudden he's back in fourth with a bit of work to do to catch back up as we see a replay off the start. I think we're on board with Witchard at the moment. And as they make their way down into turn 1, whoever that was has gone absolutely backwards.
You can hear a reversing beeper going off at Goodyear as he headed back through the field.
I think it was Witchard on 85. We just saw him disappear backwards out of the screen there that's bike number 61, Jason Martin, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen there.
Look at the speed of him coming up the inside here in Kawasaki. We get that replay there of Michael Witchard. So he may have been slow off the line, but he's certainly got the pace up the back end of the circuit.
Nothing here at the end of the track, was there? And it was 3 wide. He became the big loser of this battle, who'll drop 2 positions by the time they settle down. Back to live action now.
Just looking at this battle behind too, it looks like the Wolford's BMW S1000RR, bike number 57, the C-grader, having a pretty good battle back there, battling for 5th and 6th place at the moment.
Don't be dismayed by that graphic. It is actually 2nd, 3rd and 4th that we're concentrating on here, because our race leader, he's gone way too deep there. Witchard, goodness me. Our race leader is Glenn Birchall on the Fagans Bay Plumbing Kawasaki, and he's miles in front. He's stretched it to about 8 or 9 seconds lead now.
Full second quicker than the whole field. 1:36.5 he said 2 laps ago. And a gap out to nearly 6 seconds here on lap 5.
Yeah, the rest of them all circulating in the 37-second bracket. So at the moment, Birchall is in a class of his own in this C&D grade Formula Extreme grade category.
Here we have a replay of that manoeuvre down the inside, passing from 3rd up into 2nd, but he was only denied that at the end of the straight. And then here we go, 3 wide coming down into Ipone again. He goes a little bit too deep under brakes there, maybe even slips on a bit of the sponsors, the corner sponsors' oil.
Well, I think Witchard has certainly shown that he's not afraid of a late braking manoeuvre, but unfortunately then it just didn't really come off for him as Witchard, well, it's like a stealth bomber, isn't it? That just disappeared off into the distance and no one saw which way he went.
Well, there's Birchall leading quite comfortably as he comes out of turn number 8, Racetech corner, down into JT Sprocket's turn number 9 for the last time. He is on his final lap. And I guess he could even stop down in at the end of Dunlop Straight here in Bell Helmet's corner, adjust his Bell Helmet and still have plenty of time to get across the checkered flag first.
Been into 36s all race long, bar the opening lap. And he's coming to the final sequence of turns now. The Fagans Bay Plumbing Kawasaki of Glenn Birchall is going to do this by the length of the main straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park and going to win Race 1 of the season for Formula Xtreme C&D here today as part of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. Birchall grabs the win.
Did you see how smooth he was as he came out onto the straight as well? There'd be nothing smooth about this lot. Brendan McIntyre on board the Suzuki. Looks like he's going to have a pretty good run to the line, but will he be able to get the better of Rancel Deska? Not quite. So Deska on 99 takes second from McIntyre on 22.
Yeah, Witchard very strong, finishing in fourth place. Sonfoot, Rosner fifth. Walford, Carroll, Martin, Stamoulis and Mayer rounding up the front page. Hamish McMurray finishing in 11th. Yusuf Volpatti, Nash, Reese, Appleby and Crampton 17th and final finisher.
So it was a bit of an effort, but we put it in there. Hopefully I don't burn out towards the end of the day, but we'll be right. I was wearing me out, but it's going good, can't complain, and the tyres are good. Dunlop, thank you.
Definitely need to make some changes for race 2 to get the bike to turn in a bit better, but thanks to Motor Garage for organising my bike for me and Dunlop for the good tyres.
Been a 10-year break off the bike, so first weekend back, slowly coming back. Just thanks to the guys out there, it's been good clean racing, which is good. Thanks to Terry for putting on a good series again. Remember it from last time, and it's always a top show.
Race 3 coming up very soon, but let's check out Race 2 highlights. And again, Martin popping the wheelie up off the start line, which he's done all weekend.
He's a master of doing that out of the start line. Of course, he's racing the Kawasaki Ninja 300 Cup as well. And it wasn't long before our Race 1 winner, Glenn Birchall, managed to assert his authority in no uncertain terms. He didn't have it all his own way in the early stages, but about mid-race, he started to run away with it.
Now it was McIntyre that really took the challenge up to Birchall early, but we're on board with Deska there as he gets the better of Jason Martin on the Swann Insurance start-finish straight and down into turn 1. A scary corner.
It certainly is scary, and unfortunately he ran it a little bit wide, and it resulted in this unfortunate incident, and a very nasty one indeed. It eventually brought out the red flag, unfortunately breaking the forks on that the front of that bike, and he's going to need a little bit more than iPone oils to repair that one.
Look at the speed everyone else was carrying through there as he crawled his way off the racetrack here, and that's big damage. That could be game over for the BMW, couldn't it?
Yeah, I dare say he might be down at the wreckers looking for some parts on Monday morning, that's for sure. But I think what happened there was that he actually got very wide. As we go on board now here, you can see his front brake, or his front handlebar actually hit into the side of Deska's machine, would have broken or completely pushed out of the way the front brake protector, applied the front brake, front wheels locked up, and it's just gone end over end, and unfortunately ended in a whole lot of damage for Wolford's BMW.
Yeah, and he's lucky he wasn't damaged either by another rider coming through, or indeed the bike itself flipping onto him. Yeah, very lucky indeed. Anyway, the race was declared unfortunately after that incident, and we're on to race number 3.
So much more overcast conditions for the final race of the day, so track temperature has come down. And so has the race distance for this one. We're down to 6 laps now as the field take their position. And here is the grid. And the grid determined by the finishing results of race number 2. Still sees Glenn Birchall on pole position, but Brendan McIntyre splits up the Kawasaki's. This time he starts out at 2 over the page to Matthew Volpatti aboard the Ducati, down to Lee Appleby and Paul Crampton aboard the Suzuki. Just 16 bikes to take the green.
Well, let's see if Birchall can get a good start in this one and not have to worry about Glenn McIntyre on the Suzuki. No, he hasn't got a very good start at all, and it's McIntyre that uses the bottom end grunt of the Suzuki GSX-R to blast himself down into turn 1 in the lead.
Well, there was less air under the front wheel there of Martin's, and that has allowed him to get up into third place at the moment, so a much better start for him this time round.
So Witchard going down the inside at turn 2 on the first lap of 7 here. Out of iPone Oil's corner.
Yes, and up towards the right-hander that leads on to the Blacktown Chrysler Hill. And as you can see, everybody gets a bit of air under the front wheel there. Very important to be able to get that front wheel down and get the steering through DID chains turn number 4.
Yeah, you certainly cannot tip into turn 4 with the front wheel in the air, that's for sure, as we look back through the field to see the Ducati Panigale back there in the field of Matthew Volpatti, bike number 68.
Well, condition normal by Kawasaki. Glenn Birchall has got the lead again. It sounds boring, I know, but that's what's happened the last 2 times out there.
It's a simulation of race 2. He did the pass in the same corner, and he'll now take the lead and set sail, you'd think.
We're actually talking at the beginning or the end of race 1, guys, about how smooth Birchall looked. He's going like so much faster than everybody else, 2 seconds a lap faster in that first race, but he doesn't look to have the bike moving around, doesn't look untidy, and he certainly doesn't look to be overriding the machine either.
Well, if he continues to do performances like this throughout 2015, he'll be running in the Superbike category in 2016. There's no doubt about it. He's a C grader. He'll be upgraded to B grade in no uncertain terms and very quickly, and he won't be able to ride in this class anymore.
How long's the duration in this category before you progress? Is there a limit? Is there, when do you feel comfortable, when you get a budget, or when do you get the dream ride?
When you get graded accordingly by the grading committee, and that's really an unknown entity. They look at a number of different results over a different period of time, and then they will apply an unknown formula and say, okay, you're now in B grade.
Right, and also too, the next track at Malala is completely different here to Sydney Motorsport Park, so it could be that we see the late breaking Michael Witchard, the man that could be the one to beat at Malala with all its top stop-go corners. But at the moment, we're looking at this battle between Smith on 61, the Cube Racing machine, another one of the very well-presented machines from Ben Henry's team out of Queensland, and also Rancel Deska from the Moto Garage team from the ACT, having a ding-dong battle here on board their Kawasaki ZX-10s.
Thought about it, didn't he?
Yeah, Martin chopped his nose off in no uncertain terms, but it is condition normal. Up the front of the pack with Glenn Birchall leading at the moment. Brendan McIntyre holding off a good battle for second, third and fourth.
Yeah, Sompot Rosner right on his tail, and then Witchard trying to go around the outside.
3 wide as they go through Race Tech turn and down into JT Sprocket's corner. Everybody trying to go wide of that bump on the inside to get the drive down Dunlop. Doing well, but what that's doing, it's allowing the two behind them on board number 99 is Rancel Deska and of course the 61 of Jason Martin, and they're coming along for the party as well for second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth.
I think McIntyre's been the best of the rest, I've got to say today, guys too. Birchall's been leading by the country mile, but this guy's done a really good job.
Well, and on a bike that you probably wouldn't think would be competitive in this class either, the Suzuki GSX-R, very good in Superbike racing a couple of years ago, but the modern bikes, the Kawasaki ZX-10 with a little bit of electronic gadgetry and that massive horsepower engine, of course the Aprilia, well, no one needs to say anything about the bike that was the product of Gigi Delignu's genius over there at the Aprilia factory in Noale in Italy. But at the moment, it is the Suzuki GSX-R holding them off and doing a really good job of it as well.
Well, Somfort Rosner there was almost up into second place on board machine number 53. He tried the inside line, down through turn number 1, down into Iphone, and he ended up being the loser out of all of that, and he's now back into 5th place. Here we have a replay of that early incident where our race leader took over the lead in Kawasaki, Glenn Birchall, doing a fantastic job, and this 3-way battle for second, third and fourth, it's been now going on for about 3 laps.
Yeah, Michael Witchard's certainly shown that he's certainly not afraid to do it on the brakes. There he goes, up the inside into second position. Over at turn 6, obviously likes that corner, but look at the drive of McIntyre Suzuki as he drives back past and is in front again as they come round through turn 8.
Came back to live shots just in time here, so now it's a 5-bike battle here. Working lap 3 of 7 here. The Formula Xtreme C&D class here today at Sydney Motorsport Park. McIntyre holding back some tough company here.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of horsepower in that Suzuki. Just see the way the front wheel was trying to levitate itself off the ground as he got on the power.
Rancel Deska on 99 back there waiting to pounce like a hungry lion. He's certainly shaken off the efforts there of Martin. He's left him behind him by about 3 or 4 bike lengths as he heads out of Bell Helmets and down Swann Insurance, the main straight here at Eastern Creek. Of course, Sydney Motorsport Park, as it's now known. Bancel gets up the inside. Does he? Yes, he does. He's up into 4th place at the moment. Can he maintain that drive around the outside in turn number 1? He cuts back to the inside, outbrakes them down into turn number 2, Iphone turn, and in, I guess you could say, half of the race length, I guess, he's ended up into 3rd place now. Good job.
Well, Deska had to try and hold the tight line there because McIntyre was trying to go around the outside. So Rosner's been the big loser in all of that. He's gone back to the back of this group now as they make their way across the hill and down into the turn 4 area at DID Chains.
Too much pressure going on the preceding lap, and now the riders up. We've got a red flag happening here. So there's been an incident somewhere around the track, so the Reds have come out, and there's the reason why.
Oh, BMW again.
And it looks like there's some fluids coming out of the side of that machine.
Well, that means that we'll have a 2-part race. You can see that everybody's back now at the start line, ready for the second half. It'll be a sprint to the finish.
Well, the other thing is, though, too, Lance, it'll be on combined times, and Brendan McIntyre, Michael Witchard, Rancel Deska and Sompot Rosner, there was nothing between them as that first race come to a premature end.
Look at Jason Martin again going for it. He moves up to 3rd on the restart of this race. So a little bit tricky here in the final couple of laps.
Well, it was the best start that he's had, and I guess you could say it's because he had both wheels on the ground, not one up in the air.
Rarity, isn't it?
Well, the man that killed him off the start once again was Brendan McIntyre on the Suzuki. I tell you what, he's been over at Sydney Motorsport Park's drag strip over the other side there, practicing his starts, that's for sure.
Well, Birchall certainly hasn't, because he's got yet again another poor start. He's back there in 5th place at the moment as he heads out of Ipone and up over Blacktown Chrysler Hill, down into DID Chains. He's going to have to do it all again. Good move.
He didn't get a very good start either, Lance, and look how far he's just made his way up. He's gone up, well, he only went one position, but he made up a lot of distance as they made their way down into DID Chains turn 4 for the first time.
Well, what's Birchall got installed for us this time? He's not up the front of the pack. He's way back there in 5th. He's going to have to make sure that he maintains that lead that he had before. He can't afford to finish too far behind these guys.
Is this what they call a handicap start?
Well, it looks like it, because it does go on combined times, remember? So whatever race time or race lead he had in the first half of this race has certainly been eaten away in the first lap of the second half of this race.
Well, it'll be interesting to see too how long it takes him to find his way past. He's got Rancel Deska in front on a very similar motorcycle, a Kawasaki ZX10. Then it's Rosner and Smith, who's got the Stuntman Award for this weekend on board the Cube Racing ZX10, bike number 61 on your super screens there as you see him tip round through the final corners and out onto the Swann Insurance straight.
Good to see Cube Racing involved in all the categories here too. The Australasian Superbike Championship, thanks to Swann Insurance. They reel off lap number 4.
Brendan McIntyre doing a fantastic job to lead them as they head down. Martin in 2nd place. Rancel Deska from the ACT is back there in 3rd place. But here comes Birchall now.
Very tight line too down there into turn 1. He's got the late braking Michael Wichard right behind him as well. Well, Wichard was good over here at turn 4 on the last lap, made a big passing manoeuvre. It looks like he's going to have another go again. He's not going to get down the inside.
Oh, he's not going to get it on the black stuff either. Goodness me, that was
slow motion impact, wasn't it?
Well, tried to do a repeat of what he did on the last lap, but unfortunately it was Glenn Birchall on bike number 87, the dominant performer this weekend, not Sompot Rosen that he got past last lap.
Well, it's very interesting to see that he's just walking away from the bike that may be in a dangerous area. Everybody seems to be sitting up. Have we got another red flag? Yes, we do. Unfortunately, what that means, guys, is that the race will be declared. There will not be a 3rd attempt at this one, so it'll be ultimately a non-event because of this incident.
And Birchall was lucky he didn't go down as well. But an unfortunate end there for Michael Wichard, who'd been good on the brakes all weekend. Unfortunately, that time he was just a little bit too deep into the corner and had nowhere to go.
It's like he thought about it, that he backed out, but by then it was too late. And Birchall, you're right, was lucky not to come off also in the background of that shot.
Well, it's good to see that the riders are A-OK. The damage is done to the machines and, of course, to the race itself. So this will be a non-declared race, even though we've got Birchall, McIntyre, Wichard and Deska on the scoreboard.
Behind them, Ed Rosner, Martin, Carroll, Brees, Volpatti and McMurray. Over the pace to Yusuf, Nash, Appleby, Crampton, Steve Marr and Peter Stamoulis, who both didn't finish in that race. And confirmation from race control that race has been declared. We haven't reached 75% race distance, so half points being awarded here today. So Glenn Birchall will leave Sydney Motorsport Park on 62.5 points clear of Brendan McIntyre, Rancel Deska and the rest, boys. It's been a drama-filled afternoon here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
It certainly has. Can't wait for the action at Malala Circuit. Plenty of late braking. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Suzuki and also Michael Wichard go very well down there in South Australia.
Well, it is a remarkably different circuit to here at Sydney Motorsport Park. It requires a different mindset, a different setup, and it'll be interesting to see how these C&D graders in the former Xtreme cope with that.
Looking forward to that round coming up when we head to Malala Motorsport Park in South Australia for the next round of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. My thanks to Lance Robertson and Phil Harlan. My name's Matt Nolte. We'll see you soon.
Oh, he's not going to get down the inside.
Oh, he's not going to get that on the black stuff either. Goodness me.
That's slow motion impact, wasn't it?